Hey, welcome back to the gym. We're going to try something new. We're going to try going up to the board today instead of being seated and talking to you that way. So that I hope you guys enjoy this. Enjoy this way. Give me some feedback. But I think that this will make the MovStrong Matrix make a little bit more sense. I know that you guys have seen this before, but I think it's kind of hard to understand unless you can really see what's going on here. What this says, the MovStrong Matrix is how we base all of our programs. It's how all programs should be built. Every program that is built out there is built somewhat on this, I don't know if you want to call it a paradigm or not, but it's based somewhere on this. This is how exercise works. This encompasses all of exercise, and every program should have a portion of each one of these on them. And by the end, I'm going to show you how we've kind of missed the boat on some of this in the fitness industry and how we kind of we hate on one versus the other, but there is no denying that these all belong in a strength conditioning program, in a strength conditioning program, in a bodybuilding program, in a fat loss program, and I don't care if you are an endurance athlete, like a triathlete, or a marathon runner, or a fitness competitor. It doesn't matter. All of these should be present in every single person's program. Whether you're 89 years old, or you're 19 years old, or you're 9 years old, you should have a portion of each one of these in your program. And the fitness industry tries to tell you that certain portions of these are bad and certain portions of these are good, or that you should only focus on one and not on another, and that is false. That is ridiculously false. You should have a full spectrum of each one of these. And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to tie it in with what's called your residual training effect. Your residual training effect is basically the effect that you get of all of your training. So if you did a ton of aerobic training, how long are you going to keep that if you just one day stopped? Like, for instance, if you were to just sit on your couch today, if you're just going to sit on your couch and do nothing for the next 15 days, and then you get up and you go and run around and do stuff, how much of the shape that you're in now will you keep when you go to do the stuff after that 14 days or that 15 days? So that's what we're going to go over. I'm going to tie this in with the residual training effect, and this is stuff that the residual training effect, if your personal trainer doesn't know it, that's very sad, but all personal trainers should know this. However, most of them don't really put a lot of emphasis on it because it really doesn't resonate with them. I think it will resonate when and for you because you've already done a lot of different types of exercise. If you're on this page, you've probably done a lot of different types of exercises, and you've done a lot of different programs, and you've seen a lot of different things. There's a lot of information out there, and so you'll be able to tie it in with what you've already done. Because I think that's one of the big things with the education industry is that's what they miss out on. Instead of, like, if you were going to teach a kid how to be a mechanic, well, with our school system today, what we do, we teach them all about the tools and the tools and the tools and the tools, and we teach them all about these tools. And they'd be like, this is boring, this sucks, I don't get why we're learning all about these tools. Whereas if you just went and you grabbed an engine and you started taking things apart, then you'd have a use for that tool. You'd have a use for the wrench, you'd have a use for the pliers, you'd have a use for the whatever, and it's a better, more efficient way to learn because you can apply it right away, and that's what I'm going to try to do here. And that's why I'm saying that you have done that because you've done exercise. So we have strength, power, speed. We have alactic, glycolytic, O2. O2 would be aerobic, mobility, stability, stiffness. Now I'm going to go through each one of these, kind of explain what they are, and then we're going to go through the residual training effects. So strength is moving heavy weights slow. Power is moving light weights fast. Speed is moving basically just your body weight. It's as fast as you can possibly move any portion of your body. We're working very explosive. Alactic and glycolytic are kind of in the same boat. They're very similar. We would have to actually measure to see which one you are at which time. But alactic and glycolytic are basically where you're taking your heart rate up and you're bringing it back down. So your heart rate up and bringing it back down. Glycolytic is quite a bit more intense, but O2 is where you just kind of keep your heart rate at about the same pace for a long, extended period of time. This would be like endurance training. Mobility, unlike flexibility, this gets very confused with flexibility. Mobility isn't about being able to hit a certain range. It's about being able to keep integrity of the joint within a range. So if I'm bending down towards my toes, I might be able to get a little bit past my knee and come back up. That's my mobility. If I was going to use flexibility, I'd go ahead and take my palm all the way down and put it on the floor. That would be flexibility. Okay, so am I mobile? Not super mobile in a hinge pattern, but I'm very flexible. Now, stability is the ability to hold position. Your trunk is built for stability. Your shoulder is not built for, or your trunk is supposed to stabilize your low back. Your shoulder is not built for stability. It's actually built for instability. That's why I can do all this crazy stuff, like throw a baseball. So we have to gain stability in that joint. And stiffness gets thrown out there as this really bad and evil thing, but it's not. It's not evil, it's not bad, it's very good. If you didn't have stiffness in your body, you'd be a pile of flesh laying on the floor. Your body needs a certain amount of stiffness. It's when the continuum kind of gets off a little bit, where there's too much stiffness and it's impeding your movement, that your body will try to find other ways to get out of it. Just like water cutting down, going through, like cutting a trench in the ground, the water's finding the easiest path possible. It's not going to sit there and just stop, it just finds the easiest path possible. Your body is going to do the same thing. So why is this important? Why does this matrix exist? Well, all of our programs are built off of this, whether we like it or not. Like for instance, if we're doing strongman, well, we're going to live right here. We're going to live in the power and strength continuum. Continuum's the wrong word, but it's power and strength. We're going to train power and strength, train power and strength, train power and strength. That's going to be the main focus, right? But there still should be some level of speed. There should be some alactic, glycolytic O2, mobility, stability, stiffness in there. They're just a lesser value. What about HIIT? HIIT training. HIIT training is 100% in the alactic, glycolytic category. HIIT is high interval training. This is the funny thing today. Today's world, people are just trying to take the extra I out of it. It's high intensity interval training. There's nothing complicated about HIIT. It is not HIT, it's HIIT, and it stands for interval training. That's what this is. This is what CrossFit, Orange Theory, Les Mills, Farrell's, Kosama, almost everybody is doing some level of HIIT. Even at Grit Gym, our metabolic classes would be alactic and glycolytic training would be HIIT. It's extremely good for taking out, for burning calories, because our bodies are not efficient at this. Really, humans are only great at one thing. Humans are only great at one thing. I might even want to say that a third time. We're only great at one thing. We are the best in the world at this, at your O2 capacity. Now, O2 is your ability to go long distances at the same speed. You are the greatest endurance athlete on planet Earth. And the reason for that is because on the Great Plains of Africa, when all the vegetation dried up, we had to go from being omnivores that primarily ate plants to omnivores that primarily ate animals, and then our brains grew and we got really smart. We also, in that time, we figured out that our feet could be used for more than just climbing and walking. This is when we started to run, and pretty soon we found out that the people who could best eat were the ones that could run at a galloping pace. A galloping pace for a lot of animals will kill them on a sunny day, because the sun only hits us on the top of the head and the shoulders. So we withstand heat very, very well, whereas other animals don't. So thousands of years we ran our food to death because they couldn't, they had to pant to get rid of heat. They would have heat exhaustion, go up, club them, we'd eat for a month. Okay, there's a reason why your residual training effect of endurance capacity is 30 days. 30 days plus or minus 5. So somewhere between 25 and 35 days is where you will start to lose some of your aerobic capacity. So literally, if you were to just go lay on your couch right now, lay on your couch, well, 2 weeks from now, you did nothing. You would still have approximately the same aerobic capacity in 2 weeks as you have right now. No training. That's your residual training effect. Now, what we used to do in fitness and in sports training and performance training, we would load this up front. We would just do tons and tons and tons and tons of aerobic training, even up to the event. We'd just be doing tons of aerobic capacity type training. And what it did, it burned out all the athletes, it burns out everybody. It's not good for you. Really, it is good for you to a certain extent. It's extremely good for you. I need to take that back. I need to retract my statement. It is very good for you, but you're going to keep this for a long period of time. So we don't need to put a ton of emphasis on this and try to run 5 miles every day and do this all the time. Because you only need, we're going to get into more of this here in a little bit, but how many days you should actually train if you're an endurance athlete versus a football player versus a bodybuilder versus a power athlete like an Olympic lifter or a strongman competitor or a power lifter. We're going to go over how often do you use this here in just a little bit. But that's aerobic capacity. That's what humans are absolutely fantastic at. Now, we're not so great at these two. We're not great at these. And the reason that we're not great at these is why they work so well as a fat loss, for fat loss, is because we just expend tons of calories to do these. We don't expend very many calories down here. We do use tons of calories during the alactin glycolytic type training model. This is HIIT. This is what CrossFit does. This is what Orange Theory does. This is what Farrell's does. This is what everybody does that is in the weight loss realm of things, that isn't spouting the whole nutrition. So the interesting thing about this is it's only going to last about 18 days, plus or minus 4. Okay, so somewhere between 14 and 22 days, you're going to start to lose what you've built in that alactic and glycolytic type of capacity. Now this is important because we have to know when to let off of this and when to push on the gas of this. Because you can't just do this all the time, otherwise you end up with an injury. You end up with burnout's the wrong word. You end up with just getting bored. Your body gets bored. Okay, it just ends up sucking. You miss out on all the strength gains. Now in this is where it gets confusing for a lot of people. You could still do strength training in here, but you don't get strength gains. You do not get strength gains from putting strength movements into an alactic glycolytic type training model. So a HIIT might hit. This is HIIT, alactic glycolytic. You might do deadlifts, you might do squats, you might do chin-ups, and you might do push-ups. So those are all strength moves. Well, yeah, we typically put those in the strength training position. We're like, okay, well, if I'm doing those in a circuit and I'm getting out of breath, then I must be working on strength and cardio at the same time. I understand the logic. However, it's false logic. It's not accurate. It's not whatsoever accurate. And people argue with me on this. Other fitness professionals argue with me on this. And I'm just like, guys, you're arguing with gravity. Some of this stuff is arguable. Some of this stuff you can have a perspective on. And some of this stuff is really is really very scientific, very, very understood, very real, very tangible, very repeatable. This is not really arguable. It's like, it'd be like arguing, it really would be like, it'd be like walking up to Isaac Newton and being like, you know, Isaac, this made up thing that you're calling gravity, it's just not working for us. I don't think that all of us are being pulled 9.8 seconds, or 9.8 meters per second squared at all times. I don't think that you're right. And Isaac had to sit there and be like, oh my God, the deniers are unbelievable. Like, I've proven this over and over again. We've generally accepted gravity. You should generally accept this. This is not strength training. This is a type of cardio. This whole thing is cardio right here. This is some type of cardio. All right? So that's what happens here. They get one CrossFit, they're just segmenting this. They're leaving out this, they're leaving out that, and they're leaving out this. All right, now when as we continue into the residual training effect with the MovStrong Matrix, this over here, this is where it gets really fascinating to me anyway. To me, this is where it gets fascinating. Now, when we talk about strength, power, speed is moving extremely fast. Power is moving light weights very quickly, and strength is moving heavy weights slowly. Now, you're going to keep strength for about 15 days, plus or minus 5. So somewhere between 10 and 20 days, your body will dump strength. And it is very much, if you don't use it, you lose it. And there's a reason for that. Your body, you are the most adaptable species that has ever been on the face of the earth. For one, no species has ever been able to live in every atmosphere that is known. We've gone to outer space, we've gone into the ocean, and we've survived. This is a pretty cool thing. So our technologies and our bodies are extremely adaptative. I don't know if that's a word, but we're very good at adapting. Now, your body is going to adapt. We're not good in this. Humans are not good in this. We are pathetic at strength, we are terrible at power, and we are pathetic at speed. Fastest human on earth that has ever been recorded. It's arguably between Jesse Owens and Usain Bolt. And I realize you can go and look up Jesse Owens' numbers and be like, no, Jesse Owens didn't even get close. Jesse Owens was on a cinder track with terrible shoes. It was a totally different time, different training. And mathematicians think that Jesse Owens put in today's time frame no difference in training. If we could go back in time, bring him forward, and put him in today's shoes on today's track, that Jesse Owens would likely beat Usain Bolt in a race, and Jesse Owens was probably drug-free because they weren't even a real thing yet, which is pretty cool. But we're going to keep strength for about 15 days, plus or minus 5. So 20 to 10 to 20 days, we're going to keep strength. We're only going to keep speed for about 5 days, plus or minus 3. So somewhere between 2 and 8 days. So basically a week or less, you're going to start losing your speed. So what's, out of all of this, what's the thing that you have to constantly be training? This segment right here. You have to be on this. If you're going to lose this in a 2-week period of time, well, then we've got to do this at least once a week. If we're going to lose this in a 1-week period of time, well, then we have to do this once a week, probably more, because you're already going to be losing. Okay, so in this is where no one in the strength training, no one in the fitness world really focuses on this. No one in the fitness world just really focuses on this. MovStrong is the only system that I have found yet, and I scour the internet, I'm up on this stuff. MovStrong is the only system that anybody has created up to this point that encompasses an individualized training and tailored training program for each person involved in the group setting. It's the only one that does this. All the rest of them are over here. All of them. Every one of them. There is no group training model like this out there other than in MovStrong. And that's why I'm showing you the matrix here. The MovStrong Matrix, that's why I call it this. Because you have to have this. You have to have these 3. These, you can get, your body's basically like your body's not so great at this, it's really good at this, so you can go out and you can jog around, and you get this pretty easy. We need this in our system, but this is undeniable. This is undeniable that you have to focus on strength, you have to focus on power, and you have to focus on speed on some level. This would be throwing medicine balls, this would be doing heavy squats, this would be doing some type of plyometric training, some type of speed thing. Really, if we're using a lighter medicine ball, that would be speed too. But the crazy thing, the thing that like mind blows me, I don't even know how to necessarily get you mind blown about this 5 plus or minus 3 thing. That is a big, big deal. This 15 plus or minus 5 thing is a big, big deal, considering that it takes 30 or 25 to 35 days to start losing your aerobic capacity, but it only takes 10 to 20 days to start losing your strength, and only 2 to 8 days to start losing your speed is a big, big deal. That's why you have to be focusing on these. You know, you have to be focusing on these. We will peak out. Males will peak out on these around 27 to 33. Males will peak out on this one somewhere in their somewhere in their 40s. Okay. We have to focus on building these. The more you get on this, the more you're going to keep later. Now, this stuff over here is extremely important. And like I said, like everything in the fitness industry, like this needs to encompass all of them. So we have to have something. This is like where tune-up comes in. Now, yoga and Pilates, they basically live right over here. Yoga and Pilates live in the mobility stability space. And that's great and all. But they lack alactic, they lack glycolytic, they lack O2, they lack strength, they lack power, and they lack speed. Okay, so it's not okay to just look at yoga and be like, oh yeah, it's so good for you. Just doing yoga is enough. No, it's not. It works on your mobility, it works on your stability, and that's it. That's the beginning and the end. A lot of people want to take yoga and be like, no, yoga is the beginning and the end of all fitness-related health things. It's like, it might be the beginning. It really might be. I think yoga is great. I'm not talking anything bad about yoga. It might be the beginning, but it is definitely not the end. It might be the alpha, but it is not the omega. This over here, having a full system around this, and a lot of people ask me, where does the stiffness thing come in? Stiffness is something that your body is going to build on its own. But stiffness is important to not stretch out of your body. We have to know knowing what to stretch is not nearly as important as knowing what not to stretch. Stiffness is a very, very, very good thing. I once had speaking of yoga, I once had a yoga professional try to tell me that she could cure bow-leggedness, and I thought that was hilarious. It's really funny, like, how are you going to pull that one off? Anyway, so what's this all, so how should this all be in a strength training program? So if we get, like, let's take a football player, speed, what do they need? They need a lot of speed, they need to be able to go really fast for a short time, then take a short break. Real fast for a short period of time, then take a little bit of a break. So what do they need? They need this. They need to be in here. They also need a lot of strength, they need a lot of speed, they need a lot of power. Do they need a lot of this? No, but they need some level of aerobic capacity. So you might say A football player is going to, somewhere between 3 and 6 days a week, is going to be in this category right here. They're going to live in this category. About 1 day a week, they're going to live in this category. About 1 day a month, they're going to live in this O2 category. That's about it. About 1 day out of the week. One day, not more, 1 day. 1 day out of the week, right here. So about 4 times a month. 1 time a month, right here. The rest of the time, 3 to 6 days a week, right there. How much time are you going to spend over here? Well, we should be addressing this in the warm-up and at the end of the workout. So this should be kind of an everyday thing. What are we addressing here? Well, that's where the assessment comes in, so we figure out what not to stretch. All right, what about the average everyday person just looking to get healthier? Where do they need to be? Well, they probably need at least 2 to 3 days right there. 2 to 3 days right there per week at the very minimum, right there. Well, I'll even go 1 to 3 days per week, very, 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 very minimum there. I'm going to say, depending on what their goals are, if you have 50 pounds to lose, you probably need to spend more time right here. So let's say, let's say they're just going for health. They only have, they have 10 pounds that they wouldn't mind switching up for muscle. Well, then we need to spend a little bit of time right here. So let's say 1 to 3 days right here. 1 to 3 days right here. O2, what do they need? This is important. Remember, this is important for your heart. It's important for your hormones. It's important for your joints. It's important for blood flow. It's important for all this different stuff. How much aerobic capacity do we need as a general population, just going for fat loss and muscle gain and health and feeling good? They probably need about 1 day a week. About 1 day a week. 1 day a week. How much of this do they need? Well, a certain amount of this should be taken care of your warm-up, should be taken care of at the end of your workout. But you can also add, you can get these two together. That's how we do tune-up out of Grit Gym. Tune-up combines this and these two together. So that's where we like to enforce that at Grit Gym. So if you're looking for a reason to get to a tune-up class, there you go. That's where you get to tune-up. Stiffness, again, should be addressed in your strategy session in your assessment. What about for an endurance athlete, a triathlete, or a marathon runner? You'd think, they're going to be quite a bit different, right? They're probably going to need to run 10 miles a day, right? That is wrong. That is wrong. That's what we used to do with everybody. That's the old model of endurance training. It's just run, swim. We know that is not the case. We know that people can finish a marathon. We know people can finish a cross-country race. We know people can finish these endurance races. It's not about if we can finish, it's about how fast we can finish that race. This is the turtle in the hare. The worst thing in the race category is that slow and steady wins a race. No, it doesn't. Nobody in the history of the world has ever won a race by slow and steady. It's a stupid idea. That story is about underestimating your opponent, not going slow and steady. Slow and steady loses every single time because the fastest person always wins, no matter what. Marathon, ultra marathon, I don't care if you're running across the entire country, the person that runs the fastest wins every single time. So how much do they need? How much do they need of the aerobic stuff? How much do they need the strength, power, speed? Because you think this would be, they don't, most people, they're like, oh no, I'll just do this. I'm just going to wake up every morning, I'm going to run 5 miles. That is a huge mistake. Your body is going to torch out because of that. You're not going to like yourself. You're not going to like life. You need to have a certain amount of each one of these. So how do you make the ratio? Well, we found, research is now proving that this is more powerful than this. If we spend more days here and more days here and less days here, it is better. Okay, so if you are an endurance athlete, you probably only need to spend about 1 to 3 days per week in this space. And I think some of that, if you look back in anthropology, you run a wildebeest to death, and you run a wildebeest to death, and then you come up, well, you're going to sit there, and you're going to camp out, and you're going to feast for about a month, for about 25 to 35 days. You think there's a reason why we might start losing aerobic capacity after thousands of years of running our animals to death? That's what's going on. By the way, if you are a jogger that jogs on hot days, and you put your dog on a leash and have them jog with you, that is animal abuse. Do not do that. All right. Alactic and glycolytic, strength, power, speed. This is where the majority of an endurance athlete should live. They need at least 1 to 3 days of strength, power, and speed training. This can happen all within one workout. They need 2 to 4 days of alactic glycolytic training. I think they're probably better at that 3 mark. And they need about 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 days of aerobic capacity training, depending on where they are. And this is what's really backwards about endurance training. They think that when they get closer to their race, they should do more of this. It's the opposite way around. When you get closer to your race, you should do less aerobic capacity training so that you are fresh when you get there. You're stronger to run the race. You have more stride length. Your joints don't wear down as fast. You are stronger because of it. So I don't know if that gives a very clear but like idea around how we should do this stuff. But you know, if you are a powerlifter, you want to stay in this realm a little bit more, but you cannot deny these other two. If you're an endurance athlete, you're probably going to spend more time in here, especially right here. But you cannot deny these other ones. Okay, if you are going for health, wellness, feeling good, losing a little bit of fat, gaining a little bit of muscle, being able to throw your kids up over the top of your head, whether they're grandkids or your kids, you're going to need to spend more time over here because the fitness industry has convinced you that this is where you need to live, and it's not. These are important, but they are nothing compared to what you can get out of this over here. But anyway, that's a little take on the MovStrong Matrix. This is the Matrix. The residual training effect is that you're going to lose strength in 15 days, plus or minus 5. You're going to lose speed in 2 to 8 days. You're going to lose your glycolytic lactic capacity in about 14 to 22 days, and you're going to lose your aerobic capacity in about 25 to 35 days. So this you hold on to for a very long time. This you sort of hold on to. This you lose real quick, and this you lose basically immediately, like almost right after you do it. 2 days, and you start to lose your speed. You got to keep your speed up. But anyway. Let me know if you like the board, system and the presentation that way, rather than me trying to write on a little notepad. Put it in the comments section. Let me know what you thought of the presentation. If you got anything out of it, I'd really like to know. But I would like to get more into like kind of the sciencey type stuff around strength and conditioning. It's something that I really like to talk about. I don't know if you guys like to hear about this. So if you like hearing the sciencey stuff, please put it down in the bottom. In the comments section, and please send this out to everybody that you know. Share it out if you think our message is good, that you need more strength, you need more power, you need more speed, because you do. It's undeniable. Just nobody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about these two. But these two are good, but nothing like that over there. Anyway, please like, comment, share. Send out to everybody you know. Really appreciate you being here. Thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for the Rachel and Adam show. Should be really good. I'm excited for it. I always like doing this with Rach, but anyway, thanks guys. See you soon.